They say blood is thicker than water, but no one tells you it can also run cold. My father died believing his brother would protect us. He died with that faith intact, never knowing the truth. For 3 years, we mourned him while his brother dismantled everything he built. We trusted family because that's what you're supposed to do. We signed nothing, questioned nothing, suspected nothing. And in that blind trust, we lost everything. This is the story of how the man my father loved most became the thief who stole our future. And how years later, life made him pay it all back. Welcome to my Reddit diaries, where every story reveals the unseen battles within families. Don't forget to subscribe and tell me in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? I was 19 when my father died. 19 and completely unprepared for what death actually means. Not just the loss, but the aftermath, the paperwork, the bills, the questions from lawyers and banks and people who need signatures and decisions. My younger brother was 15. My sister was 12. My mother couldn't get out of bed for weeks. We were drowning, and we didn't even know it yet. The funeral was on a Thursday. I remember because I kept thinking how wrong it felt to bury someone on a Thursday. Like Thursdays were supposed to be ordinary, unremarkable. But there we were, standing in the rain, watching them lower my father into the ground while relatives I barely knew whispered condolences that meant nothing. My uncle arrived late. My father's younger brother. He lived 2 hours away and we didn't see him often, but when he walked up to the grave, his face was destroyed. Tears streaming. Shoulders shaking. He grabbed my mother and held her while she collapsed into his arms. I'm so sorry. God, I'm so sorry. He was my brother. My best friend. I believed him. We all did. How could we not? This was family. This was my father's blood. After the burial, people came back to our house. The living room filled with casseroles and sympathy and that terrible small talk people make when someone dies. My uncle found me in the kitchen, staring at a stack of unopened mail I had no idea how to handle. You shouldn't be worrying about this right now. I looked up at him. His eyes were red, but his voice was steady. Like he'd pulled himself together just to talk to me. Someone has to, I said. Let me help. He put his hand on my shoulder. Your father and I talked about this. About what would happen if something ever happened to him. He wanted me to make sure you all were taken care of. He did. Of course he did. You're his kids. His legacy. My uncle glanced at the pile of papers. There's property to manage. Tenants. Legal things. You should be focusing on school, on supporting your mom, on healing. Let me handle the business side. That's what your dad would have wanted. I felt something loosen in my chest. Relief, maybe. Or just exhaustion. I don't even know where to start. You don't have to. That's what I'm here for. He squeezed my shoulder. Family takes care of family. 3 days later, he came back with a lawyer. A nice-looking man in a pressed suit who spoke gently and explained that my uncle would be managing the estate temporarily. Just until things settled. Just until we were ready to take over. My mother signed some papers. I signed some papers. We didn't read them carefully. We didn't think we needed to. The lawyer left. My uncle stayed for dinner. He told stories about my father. About when they were kids, getting into trouble, dreaming about the future. He made my mother laugh for the first time since the funeral. When he left, he hugged each of us. I'll take care of everything. I promise. And we believed him. The first year was a fog. I threw myself into my job, trying to make enough money to help with bills. My brother stayed quiet, spent all his time in his room. My sister cried herself to sleep most nights. My mother moved through the house like a ghost. My uncle called every few weeks. Always checking in. Always asking if we needed anything. Sometimes he'd visit, bring groceries, sit with my mother while she talked about my father. He seemed like the only stable thing in our collapsed world. He handled the properties. My father had owned 3 small rental buildings and a piece of undeveloped land on the western edge of town. Nothing massive, but enough to generate steady income. Enough to secure our future if managed properly. My uncle collected the rent, paid the property taxes, dealt with maintenance issues. He'd give my mother cash every month. Never the full amount, but he'd explain there were expenses. Repairs. Legal fees. Things that made sense at the time. I didn't think to question it. None of us did. By the second year, I was working 2 jobs. My mother had gone back to her part-time work at the library. Money was tight, tighter than I thought it should be, but I assumed that's just how things were after someone died. I assumed the properties weren't generating much income. I assumed my uncle was doing his best. Small things started feeling off, but in ways I couldn't quite name. My uncle would dodge questions about the properties. He'd change the subject when I asked about paperwork. Once, I mentioned wanting to see the rental agreements, just to understand how everything worked, and he got defensive. But, don't you trust me? It's not that. I just want to learn. There's nothing to learn right now. It's all handled. When you're ready to take over, we'll sit down and go through everything. But not yet. You're not ready yet. I let it go. I was tired. I was overwhelmed. And he was family. The third year, I turned 22. I'd been promoted at work. My brother was doing better in school. My sister had stopped crying so much. We were healing, slowly, painfully, but we were healing. And I started thinking it was time. Time to understand my father's estate. Time to maybe take over management. Time to honor his legacy by actually knowing what he left behind. I didn't tell my uncle. I don't know why. Maybe some part of me already knew. Maybe some instinct was screaming what my conscious mind refused to hear. I found my father's old lawyer. The one who'd helped him buy the properties. Mr. Chin. He was an older man, semi-retired, working out of a small office that smelled like old books and coffee. I introduced myself. Explained I wanted to understand the estate. He looked confused. Your uncle has been managing everything, hasn't he? Yes, but I want to start taking over. Well, there's not much left to manage. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? The Western property. It sold 2 years ago. Your uncle said the family agreed it was best, given the financial situation. He brought me documents with your mother's signature authorizing the sale. The room tilted. We never sold anything. Mr. Chen's face went pale. He opened a filing cabinet with shaking hands and pulled out a folder. Inside were documents. Sale agreements. Transfer papers. My mother's signature on the bottom of a form agreeing to sell my father's land for a fraction of what it was worth. We never signed this. My mother never signed this. Your uncle assured me. Where did the money go? Mr. Chen flipped through papers. According to this, it was deposited into an estate account managed by your uncle. For family expenses. What account? We never saw that money. The old lawyer sat down heavily. Oh God, I didn't know. I trusted him. He was your father's brother. I left that office with photocopies of every document, my hands shaking so hard I could barely grip the steering wheel. I drove home. Sat in the driveway. Stared at the papers. At my mother's forged signature. At dates that corresponded with visits where my uncle had smiled at us, hugged us, promised he was protecting us. For 3 years we mourned my father. For 3 years we trusted his brother. For 3 years, we believed in family. And for 3 years, that brother had been systematically stealing everything my father built. Every property. Every dollar. Every piece of our future. I sat in that car until the sun went down, holding proof of a betrayal so complete I couldn't even process it. My father's brother. The man who cried at his funeral. The man who promised to take care of us. The man who looked us in the eyes and destroyed us. That was the moment I realized we hadn't lost our father. We'd lost everything he died trying to give us. And the person who took it was the last person he would have suspected. The person he loved most in the world. Betrayal doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It doesn't knock on your door and introduce itself. It wears familiar faces. It speaks in comforting tones. It hugs you at funerals and asks about your day and tells you everything will be okay. For 3 years, my uncle perfected the art of looking us in the eyes while robbing us blind. And the worst part? We thanked him for it. I didn't tell anyone right away. Not my mother. Not my siblings. I took those photocopies and locked them in my room and spent 2 days barely sleeping, barely eating, just staring at forged signatures and trying to understand how someone could do this. How someone could watch children grieve their father and decide that grief made them easy targets. On the 3rd day, I hired a lawyer. A real one this time. Someone who didn't know my uncle, didn't owe him favors, didn't have any reason to look the other way. Her name was Patricia Ross. She was in her 50s, sharp-eyed, with the kind of face that had seen every ugly thing humans could do to each other and stopped being surprised. I laid everything out on her desk. She read through it in silence, her expression never changing. When she finished, she looked at me. How much do you think he took? I don't know. That's why I'm here. She nodded. Give me a week. That week felt like a year. I went through the motions of living. Dinner with family who had no idea their world was about to shatter again. My uncle called twice. I didn't answer. The 3rd time, my mother picked up and handed me the phone. Your uncle wants to talk to you. I took it. Hello. Hey, haven't heard from you in a while. Everything okay? His voice. Casual. Friendly. Like he hadn't done anything wrong because, in his mind, maybe he hadn't. Maybe he'd convinced himself he deserved it. That my father owed him. That we'd never find out. Everything's fine. But, listen, I need you to sign some papers. Just routine property stuff. I'll swing by this weekend. Sure. I hung up and felt sick. Patricia called me back to her office 7 days later. She had a file 3 inches thick. Sit down. I sat. Your uncle didn't just steal one property. He stole everything. She opened the file. The Western land was sold 2 years ago for $200,000. Market value was closer to $400,000. The money went into an account in his name. You received nothing. My hands clenched. What else? 2 of the rental properties have been transferred into his name over the past 18 months. He forged transfer documents, forged your mother's signature, forged notarizations. The 3rd property is still in your father's estate, but all the rental income for 3 years has gone to him. We're talking roughly $70,000. I did the math in my head. Conservative estimate, he'd stolen over $500,000. While we struggled. While my mother worked herself exhausted. While I took on debt to keep us afloat. Can we prove it? Patricia's expression said everything. Proving it and winning are different things. Yes, we can prove the signatures are forged. We can prove he had no legal authority. But your uncle was smart. He has lawyers. He has documents that, on the surface, look legitimate. He has time. Fighting this will cost you $100,000 minimum, maybe more. It'll take years. And there's no guarantee you win. So we just let him keep it? I'm not saying that. I'm saying you need to understand what you're walking into. She leaned forward. Your uncle has already liquidated most of the assets. Even if you win, collecting will be nearly impossible. He'll hide money, claim expenses, drag it out until you're bankrupt from legal fees. That's how people like him operate. I sat there feeling everything and nothing at the same time. What would you do? Honestly, I'd confront him. Not for legal reasons. Foreclosure. Let him know you know. See if shame accomplishes what the law can't. I went to his house that night. Didn't call ahead. Just drove the 2 hours and showed up as the sun was setting. He answered the door in comfortable clothes, a beer in his hand, the TV playing in the background. When he saw me, something flickered in his eyes. Not quite fear. Recognition, maybe. Like he knew this moment was always coming. This is a surprise. We need to talk. He stepped aside. I walked into his living room and noticed things I'd never paid attention to before. New furniture. Expensive TV. Photos of a recent vacation to somewhere tropical. All purchased with money stolen from his dead brother's children. Want a drink? No. He sat down. I stayed standing. I pulled out the papers and dropped them on his coffee table. I know what you did. He looked at the papers but didn't touch them. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he picked up his beer, took a slow drink, and leaned back. You don't know anything. Forged signatures. Falsified documents. Stolen properties. I know everything. Those documents are legal. They're fraudulent and you know it. His face hardened. The uncle who comforted us at the funeral disappeared. What replaced him was someone cold. Calculating. You're upset. I understand. Losing your father was hard. But you're young. You don't understand business. Your father and I had arrangements. What arrangements? You stole from us. I managed assets. There were expenses. Debts you didn't know about. I protected you from financial ruin. He stood up. You want to be angry? Fine. Be angry. But I saved this family. Your father died owing people money. I cleaned up his mess. That's a lie. Prove it. He stepped closer. You think you're going to take me to court? You can't afford it. I've made sure of that. You want to fight me? Go ahead. I'll bury you in legal fees. I'll drag this out for 5 years. By the time it's over, you'll have nothing left. Not even the little I've graciously allowed you to keep. The mask was completely off now. This was who he really was. Who he'd maybe always been. You were his brother. And he was lucky to have me. He built nothing without my help. Everything he had, I helped him get. He owed me. So you waited until he died to collect? I took what was mine. I stared at this man, this stranger, and felt something break inside me. Not just anger. Something deeper. The realization that evil doesn't always look like monsters. Sometimes it looks like family. Sometimes it sits across from you at Thanksgiving. Sometimes it cries at funerals. I'm going to tell everyone. Mom, the family, everyone. He smiled. Actually smiled. Go ahead. Half of them won't believe you. The other half won't care. That's family. That's how it works. I left without another word. Drove home in silence. Walked into the house where my mother was watching TV and my siblings were doing homework and everything looked normal. And I knew I had to destroy that safety with the truth. Mom, I need to talk to you. She saw my face and turned off the TV. What's wrong? I told her everything. Every document. Every theft. Every lie. She sat there, absorbing it, and I watched her break in real time. Not the violent breaking of the funeral. Something quieter. More final. The breaking of someone who has nothing left to break with. He was his brother. I know. How could he do this? I had no answer. Neither did she. Neither did my siblings when I told them. We sat together in that living room, our family fractured again, and realized we'd been mourning the wrong loss. We thought losing our father was the tragedy. But the real tragedy was discovering that the person we turned to for comfort was the one twisting the knife. Patricia was right. Fighting would destroy us financially. Emotionally. We'd already lost so much. How much more could we afford to lose? I made the hardest decision of my life. I walked away. Let him keep it. Let him win. Because winning meant survival, and survival meant protecting what little we had left. But as I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, I realized something. My uncle hadn't just stolen money and property. He'd stolen something more valuable. He'd stolen our ability to trust. To believe in goodness. To think that blood meant anything at all. And I wondered if karma was real. If justice existed outside courtrooms. If someday, somehow, the universe would balance the scales. I didn't know then that it would. I didn't know that 5 years later, life would come for him in ways no lawyer ever could. I just knew that for now we'd lost. And he'd won. And there was nothing we could do but survive it. 5 years is a long time to rebuild a life. Long enough to graduate. To get promoted. To watch your siblings grow into people your father would be proud of. Long enough to stop waking up angry. Long enough to accept that some injustices never get resolved, some thieves never get caught, and some family members are better left behind. My brother finished college. My sister got into a good university. My mother retired from the library with a small pension. We moved into a better apartment. I met someone. Life went on because that's what life does, even when you don't want it to. Even when part of you is still standing in that living room, staring at forged signatures. We never spoke to my uncle again. The extended family fractured predictably. Some believed us. Most stayed neutral. A few defended him, said we were being dramatic, said family shouldn't air dirty laundry. We stopped going to reunions. It was easier that way. I thought about him sometimes. Wondered if he slept well at night. If he enjoyed the money. If he ever felt even a flicker of guilt. I told myself I didn't care. I told myself I'd moved on. I was lying, but it was a comfortable lie. Then one Tuesday morning my phone rang. A known number. I almost didn't answer. Hello. Is this you? A woman's voice. Tired. Strained. Familiar but aged. Who is this? It's your aunt. Your uncle's wife. I hadn't heard her voice in 5 years. We used to exchange pleasantries at family gatherings. She'd always seemed kind. Quiet. I wondered how much she knew. How much she'd helped hide. What do you want? He's sick. Very sick. He's in the hospital and he's asking for you. I almost hung up. Almost said he could rot for all I cared. Almost told her what her husband did to us. But something in her voice stopped me. Not pleading. Something else. Maybe. Or exhaustion. Why would I come? She was quiet for a long moment. Because he says he needs to talk to you before he dies. He says he has things to give back. My heart stopped. What? Please just come. Room 407. County General. She hung up before I could respond. I sat in my car outside the hospital for 20 minutes, gripping the steering wheel, trying to decide if this was real or just another manipulation. If he was really dying or if this was some scheme to get me to sign something, forgive something, absolve him of something he didn't deserve absolution for. But I went inside. Took the elevator to the 4th floor. Walked down a hallway that smelled like disinfectant and decay. Found room 407. He looked small. That's what I noticed first. My uncle, who'd always seemed larger than life, loud and confident and taking up space, looked shrunken in that hospital bed. Tubes and wires. Machines beeping. His skin had a gray tint. His eyes were sunken. When he saw me, he tried to sit up. Couldn't. His wife stood from a chair in the corner. I'll give you privacy. She left. We were alone. Just me and the man who destroyed my family. You came. His voice was barely a whisper. I stayed near the door. Your wife said you wanted to talk. I'm dying. Kidneys failed. They give me maybe 2 months. I'm sorry to hear that. I wasn't. He could tell. I need to tell you something. Need to give you something. He gestured weakly to a folder on the bedside table. Take it. I didn't move. What is it? Everything. Property deeds. Bank statements. Account numbers. Passwords. It's all there. Everything I took. I'm giving it back. I felt like the floor had disappeared. Why? He closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they were wet. Because I can't die like this. Thought I could. Thought I'd take it all to the grave and sleep fine. But I don't sleep. Haven't slept right in 5 years. I see your father. Every night. I see his face when he trusted me with everything. I see you at 19, signing papers you didn't understand. I see your mother crying. You should see those things. I know. And I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just need you to take it back. All of it. It's worth more now. The property's appreciated. The investments grew. I'm giving you more than I took because maybe that'll let me die with less weight. I walked over and picked up the folder. Inside were documents. Legal transfers. Notarized confessions. Bank accounts with my name added. It was real. All of it. The Western land. I bought it back 3 years ago. Couldn't stand knowing someone else owned it. It's worth $600,000 now. The rental properties are paid off and generating good income. There's also cash. Compensation for the years of rent I stole. About $200,000. I stared at him. Why now? Why not 2 years ago? 3. Pride. Cowardice. I don't know. I kept telling myself I deserved it. That your father owed me for all the times I helped him. That you'd be fine. That it wasn't that bad. He coughed, winced in pain. But every day I woke up and it got heavier. The lying. The hiding. Watching my own kids find out what I'd done and look at me like I was a monster. You are a monster. Yes, I am. He looked directly at me. But I'm trying to be less of one before I go. I wanted to feel satisfied. Victory. Something. But all I felt was empty. This wasn't justice. This was just a dying man trying to buy his way into a peaceful death. Do you expect me to forgive you? No. Do you expect me to say it's okay now? No. Then what do you expect? He was quiet for a long time. The machines beeped steadily in the background. Finally he spoke. I expect you to take what's yours and leave. And maybe, someday, when you think about me, you'll remember that at the end I tried to make it right. That's all. That's all I can hope for. I folded the papers and tucked them under my arm. You destroyed us. You know that? Not just financially. You made us unable to trust anyone. You made family mean nothing. You stole our father twice. Once when he died. Once when you betrayed everything he believed about you. I know. And giving it back doesn't undo that. I know. I turned to leave. Got to the door. Stopped. I don't know why I said what I said next. Maybe because he was dying. Maybe because I was tired of carrying hate. Maybe because my father wouldn't have wanted me to become bitter. I don't forgive you. But I release you. Whatever you did to us, you did worse to yourself. You have to live with that. Or die with it. That's punishment enough. He nodded. Tears ran down his face. I left. He died 6 weeks later. I didn't go to the funeral. But I took the properties. Restored them. Used the money to create a scholarship fund in my father's name. Helped my siblings buy homes. Gave my mother the retirement she deserved. The universe didn't punish my uncle. He punished himself. Every day for 5 years, carrying the weight of what he'd done, unable to enjoy a single dollar because it was all soaked in guilt. That's the thing about stealing from family. You don't just take their money. You take your own peace. Your own conscience. Your own humanity. People ask me if I believe in karma now. I tell them I believe in something simpler. The truth. And how unbearable it becomes when you try to hide from it. My uncle didn't return our inheritance because the law forced him. He returned it because living with a lie was worse than dying with the truth. My father always said that honest men sleep well. I finally understand what he meant. It's not about being rewarded for goodness. It's about being able to close your eyes at night and not see the faces of people you've betrayed. My uncle stole everything. But life made him return more than he took. Not just money. Not just land. But the truth. And in the end, maybe that was the real inheritance my father wanted us to have. The knowledge that the truth, no matter how long it takes, always finds its way home. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real stories about family, betrayal, and redemption. Drop a comment and tell me your thoughts. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted? How did you handle it? Let's talk about it. And remember, sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's simply outlasting the lie. I'll see you in the next story.